Welcome to another episode of Lux Saigon. This time Nick and Grant discuss chapter 4 of the Sam Harris book Waking Up. This chapter mentions Ramana Maharshi, the town of Tiruvannamalai and Arunachala, a mountain which is considered holy in South India. Nick actually visited this exact place during Lunar New Year and couldn't help but feel emotional while reading this chapter. Oh, and of course, the theme of this chapter is meditation. Enjoy!
Yo, what's up, guys? Welcome to a new episode of Lux Saigon. I'm back with Grant. This time, chapter 4, right?
Ch.4, yep.
Chapter 4, meditation, yo. Dude, I heard this chapter on the way to work today, like the audiobook.
Mhm.
And the part where he talks about there's like three sections to this chapter, right? The first part is just like I guess the scientific description of how meditation affects your brain, I guess, right?
Yep.
Then he goes on to talk about like India and Papaji and Ramana Maharshi, and like the thing is he mentioned the specific place where I went for TET, and then that just kind of tripped me out. But yeah, like he mentioned the specific town where I went for TET and the specific mountain that we were walking around and stuff. Like he mentioned these places where I've been, and it just tripped me out on the way to work today. Like I actually felt pretty like emotional on the way to work. So let's see what happens during this episode.
Yeah, damn. Why did you feel like that? Just because you had a intense experience there?
Yeah, I mean, like not only like the spirituality and the non-dualism part, because when I was there, I did see a lot of people there like seeking enlightenment and doing stuff that I don't do anymore. So like I didn't really care too much about that, but just the trip itself was really special for me because like honestly like I fell in love with somebody in my travel group,
Mm.
right? And like I visited these places with her during that trip, and actually we connected like while walking around that mountain Arunachala. Like that's actually how we connected. Just
Damn.
yeah, so it just like hit me so hard today. I was like, mother man. Ah. So anyways, let's start from like the beginning of this chapter. Like yeah, he was saying like what, like they've tested people's brains who meditate a lot and they have like a strong, what was it, like corpus callosum or something like that, and like
Yeah, I can't remember exactly. But yeah, the first part of the chapter was all about um how people deal with you can't just be and exist. Thoughts are always coming and going. And it
mm,
was that they've done research and like people who are unable to concentrate on the present moment and always have a higher amount of thoughts coming and going are
mm,
generally less happy, which I thought was pretty interesting. Yeah, I think it was like 46% of people spend most of their times being distracted by thoughts that are not relevant to what you're doing at the moment.
mm. It makes sense. I mean, also it makes sense that when you're thinking a lot, you're not like, it's like you forget to be happy when you're thinking so much, because I'm experiencing
Yeah,
that
yeah,
right now.
yeah, for sure. It's so hard to do that though. Like, I think that's why it's important to like busy yourself with things you enjoy because you're just really present and you're doing the thing you enjoy. Like when you have too much free time or you're doing something you're not really interested in, I find personally that my mind always wanders a lot more then, and then that makes me
Mm,
feel less satisfied.
mm. Also, I think I have to ask myself, like, what is it that is making me so interested in either future or past? Like, what is it that's pulling me in that direction?
Mm, mm, yeah. He also said as well, like, if you take the time to think of a good memory, like laughing with friends or something like that, take note of what you're feeling right now and like it's nice. And then if you think of a memory that cause you discomfort, take note of how you're feeling right now, and then you feel that kind of negative energy. So just like doing that little experiment yourself, you could really see how, like, if you spend a lot of your time letting your mind get distracted with unpleasant things in the future, unpleasant things that you've faced in the past, like it definitely affects how you feel.
Mm. I wonder what about those people that they spend some time like in solitude somewhere, like just to face their mind and to like face all of these random thoughts. Maybe that finally makes your mind just quiet down for more long term.
Yeah, probably. Because I think it's one of those things, like thoughts pop up and people don't normally address them. Like you just busy yourself with something else, or you don't really
Mm,
sit there and face it. So yeah, I reckon like a silent meditation retreat, you can't really escape it, because like
mm,
in the real world, if those thoughts pop up and they make you feel a certain way, especially a negative way, you're like, oh fuck it, I'll go on my phone or I'll do something else. They never actually address them, but like a silent meditation retreat, what else can you do, right? Except for just sit there and be with your thoughts.
yeah. Or also one thing that could happen is like your mind gets so noisy that no matter how much you try to distract yourself, doesn't work. Which is what I'm
Yeah,
experiencing right now.
yeah, yeah, yeah. And then you get that like horrible headache and you just feel like frustrated and yeah.
It's like right now, I'll have like yeah, like all this mental noise, like my mind is pulling me in all these directions, and I'll be looking up at my phone to try to feel better, and then I hear this little voice is like, it's not gonna help, right? And
Yeah.
I'm like,
At least
God damn.
at least you can recognize that though. So many people wouldn't even recognize that and they would just like they wouldn't have that and they'd be just looking at their phone. Oh, I need to look at something else. I need to look at something else. I need to look at something
Mm,
else. So the fact that you're aware of it can't be a bad thing.
true, true. Also, just like the more things I try to distract myself with, like my mind is just so noisy right now that it doesn't work. Like I could try to like I don't know watch Netflix and it's like, hey, what about me?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So then, okay, yeah. So after he talks about yeah, like the physical parts of the brain, how that people brains that they meditate for I think over 10,000 hours, right? In total, that I guess they respond better to when things don't go the way they want or something, like
Yeah.
they experience
Yeah.
less anxiety.
Yeah. Yeah. And he was also talking about in the early chapter of the first part of the chapter, he did meditation retreats
Yeah.
for a month or two with a Burmese monk. Um, and he was meditating for 18 hours a day and sleeping for 4 hours a day.
Yeah.
I was like, damn, that must be intense. Like that goes back to what you're saying. Like, there's nowhere to hide from all those thoughts. You have to address them. Could you imagine meditating for 18 hours a day for a month? That's
That's a
crazy.
long time, dude. Like try just 25 minutes.
That's exactly what I was going to say. Like, since reading this book, I've started meditate not every day, but trying to like 10 minutes. And
Mm.
man, so when I'm not in the mood for it, it feels like forever.
Yeah.
So, dude, 18 hours, but not 18 hours, just one times 30. That's crazy.
And I mean, but also like I'm wondering like what's the purpose of them doing that? Is it to cleanse their thoughts? Is it to be awakened? Like I don't understand what is the purpose exactly.
To not let themselves get distracted by all those thoughts, to remain in the present moment, I think is what they were trying to achieve through that practice.
Mm,
Um, just the focusing on what you're experiencing right now, I
mm.
think was the main purpose of it.
I was surprised that Sam Harris mentioned Papaji because like when I was in that town, Tiruvannamalai, I found a random Papaji book and I had heard of him before because I still like follow one of his students, which is Gangaji, this like
Mhm.
American lady who like she traveled to India to be awakened by Papaji, and she was like, okay, so what do we do now? And then he was like, yeah, we do nothing. And then she was like, what do you mean? I'm ready to do like the meditation. And then he's like, no, no, we just do nothing. And now, yeah, now she's like a teacher in Oregon, I think.
Really?
Yeah.
Do you know what was interesting about this chapter as well? Um, is because this is the first chapter that's fully addressed meditation. I thought, like reading the cover of the book, that the book would have a much more information on pure meditation. But
Mm,
if we go back to the first episode recorded of this, and we didn't really know what the book was going to be like. We just read the
mm,
introduction chapter and we were just kind of going off on tangents and speculating. And all the stuff we kind of ended up talking about are like about the sense of self and like fake gurus and like, can you actually achieve enlightenment? All was
mm.
popping up in this chapter. And I was just like, damn, this is crazy.
Yeah, yeah. And if we read more spirituality books, like that's gonna keep popping up eventually.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, that like I I would put that in the pattern. And he talks about
Hmm.
like and like he'll talk about like all the teachings of Buddhism, the teachings of Dogen or however you like pronounce that. Like, bro, it's the pattern. It's the same thing, dude.
Hmm.
Like
Yeah.
once you remove all of the tradition and ritual stuff, like at the core is the same thing.
Hmm. Hmm. Yeah. That's it. Yeah, everyone's seeking, it depends what you want to call it, right? Enlightenment, happiness, just
Mm,
being present and content with yourself. Like everyone's seeking that and everyone's trying, and there are different ways and they all have that overlap. Like you could
mm,
pursue going to India and speaking to gurus, or you could bury yourself in self-help books, or you could do something else. But yeah, like you say, when you strip it all away, it's all kind of pushing you in that same direction.
mm. It's like our friend Guy says, like all roads lead to Rome.
Yeah, yeah,
So you can just choose, yeah, choose whichever road you prefer the most, and at the end we'll come back to the pattern anyways.
yep, yeah, definitely.
Yeah. Oh, so do you remember that in a previous episode we talked about some guy that he had an ashram and I visited his ashram or whatever, and like, and he didn't want any followers, but people just
Yeah.
chased after him. That was the dude in this chapter, Ramana Maharshi, that Sam Harris talked
Ah,
about. That
interesting.
was the
Yeah,
same
because that
dude.
was when we were talking about enlightened people, and we were saying people who go around saying they're enlightened, uh, they're probably not, and that's just from a place of ego.
Mm,
Enlightened people wouldn't go around proclaiming that, and they wouldn't want to deal with it.
mm.
So that was that guy.
That
And
was
it's
the
also funny, yeah. And then the Swiss woman, who, because I would say because when we were talking about fake gurus and fake enlightenment, we were talking about it from a more uh like malevolent place, I'd say.
mm,
It was like being a fake guru and garnering followers and all that kind of shit. But this Swiss woman, she was just like super nice and like thought she had achieved enlightenment just because she was like a super happy person.
mm.
Um, and then he asked, what did he say to her? We're gonna sit here until you have a thought.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
then she started thinking, like, wait, did I just have a thought?
Yeah. Also, what's wrong with having thoughts? It's like she must have thought like, oh, I'm so special now because I'm pretty sure I'm
Yeah.
not having thoughts.
That's something I don't really understand about the whole enlightenment thing, is like they were saying when you reach enlightenment, it's being present. You don't have those thoughts coming and going all the time. You don't have thoughts. I'm thinking like, is that possible?
Dude, like
What do you
if I
do all the time?
yeah, if I had to guess, if I had to guess, like I would say like if like what is enlightenment anyway? I wouldn't think that it's just like, oh, now I have no thoughts. It's probably just a person who finally realizes like, okay, the thoughts are not me. I'm just a thing watching the thoughts, and that's it.
Mm,
And then as your life, as time goes by in your life, maybe like your thoughts will decrease because you're just like continuing to like cleanse and unidentify. But it's not like, well, I'm enlightened now. I have no thoughts.
yeah, yeah, yeah. It's kind of, yeah. To be honest, I still don't know whether I buy the fact that you can even reach enlightenment, or is enlightenment just another word for
Right.
finding finding peace in yourself and being happy and content with who you are,
Mm.
being at peace with the world. Um, yeah,
It's probably like whatever definition we hear of enlightenment, it's probably not it.
yeah,
It's just so abstract that people will try to describe with words something so abstract and something that just like Sam Harris says, like it's already happening because
hmm,
you don't become enlightened, you realize it.
mm, mm. And I wonder if at the point of realizing it, does that mean that you fall off and you're becoming less enlightened?
That could happen. It could totally be like that Swiss lady. Oh my God, I'm enlightened now. So I'm special, right? So then you totally just lost it.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
Yeah. There's definitely like a spiritual ego.
Hmm.
Like oh, I'm so
For sure.
wise now. I'm so humble now.
Yeah,
It's like
yeah.
it's like
I
look,
should I should
look
have followers, and I should spread this knowledge.
right, right. It's like, hey, look how humble I am. Like it could be like that. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
But yeah, they'll say like if you go to that town, Tiruvannamalai, they'll say like there's something special about the mountain, supposedly, that it's older than the Himalayas. And
Okay.
there's some kind of like, I don't know, magnetic thing going on there that supposedly for many years, like different enlightened people have chosen to just live on the mountain
Mm,
and to be
mm,
buried there when they die for some reason.
okay. Interesting. Because I did think about like the people who have apparently achieved enlightenment. They just seem to be gurus that retreat into themselves and retreat from the world, and they just kind of sit there with this serene look on their face.
Mm,
Um, and I did start thinking, is that enlightenment? Is that something that you'd want to pursue? Um, I don't know. Maybe you can have enlightened people who just have normal friendships and relationships with people, but
mm,
the stereotype of enlightenment is that kind of guru character.
mm.
And I'm thinking like, do you have to be enlightened that way? Because I'm not sure that's a life that is that appealing.
I can imagine someone who's enlightened is like someone who has realized enlightenment, like they're participating in this matrix, like in this metaverse where we are right now, uh, and they're just playing. Like
Yeah.
like like they know it's just a game, so they don't take it seriously, and yeah, they're
Maybe.
just doing whatever is fun for them or just meaningful for them, and they're not necessarily trying to wake everyone up. Oh hey, I
Yeah,
have
yeah,
the secret
yeah.
to like no, they're just chilling.
Or enlightened could also be something that people use to describe others, but not themselves, who they think has got life figured out.
Mm, it's possible, huh? Like I still believe that Jesus was a real person and that he would fit into that category of someone who's realized this.
Yeah, yeah.
And I'm pretty sure he didn't intend to be worshipped. I think he was just someone who had a lot of insights.
Oh, no, you were saying it was Buddha who said, when I die, don't make a religion out of this.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
then make a religion out of it.
And not just one, there's multiple versions. There's like the Theravada, Mahayana, the Tibetan,
Hmm.
and maybe some more. But like I think like the one that cuts through to the core the most, I think is Zen.
Hmm. Yeah, yeah.
Just goes straight to the point. No dancing, no chanting. Like actually recently we met someone that he's like, I forget what kind of Buddhist he is, but like he was saying like, yeah, we do like strict meditations like for hours and stuff and like chanting and like, but I'm also thinking like, what's the purpose? Is this kind of like those meditations where like you're trying to wake up? Because isn't that a
Mm,
trap?
mm, yeah, yeah, yeah. It kind of loses me a bit when meditation gets mixed up with religion,
Mm,
um, or the kind of woo-woo side of it. Um, that's why I quite liked the way this book was formatted, where it's talking about how your brain works and then scientifically how meditation can help you. Um, because I much prefer just doing the kind of sitting there, close my eyes, do some deep breathing, try and remain present. And it
mm.
kind of loses me a little bit when you do all the like the chanting and the oms
Yeah,
and like
yeah.
your third eye and your chakra and all this kind of bullshit.
Mm,
Like I don't think you need all of that stuff. Like it's pretty amazing anyway, consciousness and the fact that you're able to have these thoughts and just practice meditation. You don't need to add all this extra nonsense in it, is my opinion.
mm,
If it works for you, like it works for you, right? But
mm. I think where I am right now is like I think the chakras are just a metaphor for your nervous system. So I think that's where I am right now, just like healing all of my childhood stuff. That
Mm.
like even though I don't identify with my thoughts or my mind, like I don't identify with that at all, but still I get triggers from my childhood. And so it's like, okay, so I have to do something about that because that's annoying. I don't want to keep having to live with that forever. That would suck.
So when you're meditating, have these triggers from your childhood popped up then?
They pop up like not really when I'm meditating.
Uh,
Like meditating is more just like my mind taking a dump, right? Like
mhm, mhm.
of whatever daily or like sure, like maybe stuff from my past and stuff. But what can happen is that like my childhood wounds could influence my behavior, and then I act out that behavior. And let's say I cause damage to someone, and then I realize that, and I'm like, oh my God, I did that because of my
Yeah.
childhood thing, and then I have to deal with that in that moment, and I can't escape it, no matter what. Like
Mm.
I can't distract myself from it. Like it's just there until I figure out how to deal with that.
And like so once you recognized you did this behavior because of something that happened when you were a kid, have you
Mm.
been able to heal that and get past it?
It feels like there's like layers, like there's layers
Mm.
to it. Like it might start off a little bit easy in the beginning, but you could go deeper, deeper, kind of like Dante's Inferno. You just keep going
Mhm.
down into hell, and it gets a little bit more challenging every
You do
time.
the opposite way, right? And like you're going up into heaven because it's how when you first act in that shit.
Right. But I feel this is like it feels like like because of like the childhood wounds, it's like something, let's say in your nervous system, right? So something in your nervous system is wanting something specific that was missing in your childhood. And it could become like an addiction of something. It could be like an addiction to relationships, addiction to whatever, gambling out, like whatever. For me, it was relationships, like actual addiction to that. So like then when you actually like force yourself to stop, or if just life forces you to stop, it feels like rehab. And you can
Mm.
feel just like inside of you, it's like, dude, give me my drugs, give me, and then you're like, and then you have to sit there like, no, 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 and then meditation can help you with that, like during that phase.
Mm.
It's like, oof, no,
Mm.
like no, just get through this day, and then we'll try again tomorrow. Just try your best.
Yeah. Yeah.
But
So
also like
what
exercise
relation?
can help too and all that stuff.
Yeah, definitely, definitely. Yeah, I think meditation is just like another tool in your toolkit on how to cope and deal with things.
Mm-hmm.
Um, because a lot of the examples they were given in this chapter two was, people who've meditated for 10,000 hours, 18 hours a day, and they have all these amazing results and they can stop feeling a sense of self. And I thought that's all well and good, but most people can't dedicate that amount of time. Most people want to meditate for 10, 15, 30 minutes a day.
True.
Um, it's probably not going to have the same results as going and living with a Buddhist monk in Burma and doing 18 hours a day.
Mm.
Um, so I feel like it's going to help us a lot to do meditation, but it's just another one of those things that can help you be a more complete person. Meditate for a certain amount of time a day, maybe
Yeah.
do a silent retreat here and there, but I'm not really looking to dedicate my life to it and spend huge chunks of my life doing it and seeking enlightenment and all that stuff. It's just
Yeah.
another thing that, I can do exercise, I can hang out with friends, I can do some meditation, I can take cold showers and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Um, and then all that will just help you become a better, more rounded person who is happy or enlightened or whatever description of it you want to give.
Mm. Yeah, like the guy in India, Ramana Maharshi, like he would say like, okay, so if you are on this enlightenment journey, just keep asking, who am I? Just keep doing that.
Mm,
You don't have to do
mm,
all this other stuff. Just keep asking that and then see what happens.
mm. Yeah, it's so true. It's like being an inquisitive kid when you just keep saying, why, why, why,
Exactly.
why? Because who am I? And then, oh, I'm a person who does X, Y, Z. well, why am I like that?
Yeah.
Okay, and what caused me? And you just end up, yeah, I can really see how you just keep going deeper and deeper and unraveling the layers, and then eventually you would maybe find, like you were saying, that event maybe in your childhood or whenever, or more recently. That, yeah, makes sense.
It's like, so like his method is that the self, what do you call it, self-inquiry, like who am I, who am I?
Mhm.
So like let me try that right now. So like, okay, so who am I? I'm not Nick, because Nick is just a label my parents put on me. So Nick is not me. It's just a label for this
Mhm.
person. Okay. What else am I not? Uh my body keeps changing. It was small and then it grew bigger, and it's still changing right now. But I didn't change, right? Like I'm still the same consciousness or whatever. Like
Mm.
then who or what am I?
I think that's one way to do it. But then I think most people cling on to an identity. So if you were
Nice.
to do it another way, it would be, who am I? Okay, I'm a person who is, you know, loyal. I'm a person who gets offended when this happens. I'm a person who, and then you start to say, okay, well, why do I get offended when this happens? And then, okay, I think that is also a good practice, because then you actually
Yeah.
peel it away.
And
Whereas when you
and
do it the other way, you're just like, well, I'm not Grant and I'm don't even have the same body. You just end up questioning everything and you're like, what the fuck?
the thing is, like, once you start to question your identity, like, why am I this way? And then you start to ask that, and then you find out why. When you find out why you've been that way, just by seeing why you've been that way, it might actually stop making you be that way.
Definitely,
So
definitely.
so then your identity can actually shift. So it's like, I'm not even my identity then, because that can be shifted.
Yeah, your identity shifts all the time. Like your personality is constantly changing.
Mm,
Even even from like, a couple of years ago. But if you think back to 10 years ago, I'm a completely different person than I was 10
mm.
years ago. I think nearly all of my opinions are different.
Mm.
The way I would deal with things and react to things are completely different. My identity was so different 10 years ago. And then 20 years ago, like when I was a kid, completely different.
Yeah,
So your
dude.
identity is forever changing. And all of these little experiences, it's like a big piece of clay. Like all of these little experiences are just slowly molding and molding and molding, and it keeps changing and changing.
It's like you could be different now from a month ago.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. And it's like with these experiences, small experiences will keep chipping away, chipping away. So typically you can be like slightly different from a month ago, but you could also have some huge shift in your life, some crazy event or some crazy realization that just completely changes your identity.
Yeah, just like a huge, like a paradigm shift, basically.
Hmm. Hmm.
Yeah. So then, like, yeah, so like even in Atomic Habits, he mentions if you want to like change your habits, change your identity, then your habits will match your identity. It's like, okay, so if I
Yeah.
can change my identity, then I'm not my identity then, right? So who am I then?
Hmm. Yeah. Yeah. I think who am I is that you're just a temporary version of yourself that's forever changing.
The identity.
Hmm.
Is it? Yeah, for sure, it's temporary. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
So then while that identity is changing and shifting and molding, is there something that's not changing?
I don't think so.
What about the thing that's observing the identity changing? Because
I think
something
that
is
goes back.
observing the change, right?
Is that not consciousness? I don't know.
I'm down for that label.
Yeah. And then we get back to, but what is consciousness?
Yeah,
Who knows? Not even scientists know.
then we don't know how to answer that. That's why eventually the answer is I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah. That's it. That's it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
eventually it's I don't know. And then you gotta be okay with that.
Yeah. It's also got to be, I don't know and I don't care.
Yeah.
I've questioned it, and hopefully I've uncovered things that make me negative in some ways and doubt with them. And then the goal is just to get to a stage of, I don't know, I don't care. I'm confident that I'm a good person and I'm just going to enjoy my time here.
Yeah, but like right now, this phase of my life is I don't know who I am, but for sure I'm not Nick, and I'm just removing all of like my all the wounds attached to this Nick person.
Hmm.
Just so
Hmm.
I can just be in a state, in a more constant state of like, yeah, I don't know, I have no idea,
Hmm. Hmm.
without those annoying triggers.
Yeah.
Yeah. Wait, so you're going to India, said next year?
I'm going to India in March. Yeah, March next year. So a few months away.
Nice, for a silent retreat.
Well, I'm going to go for 2 months. So mainly to just travel and experience India. But yeah, I'm thinking about doing a 5 day silent retreat.
Mm,
Um, I see that they do 10 days and people mostly recommend that you do 10 days, but I think that would be intense. I want to ease myself into it. So I think I'm going to do a 5 day retreat, and then if in the future I feel like doing a 10 day one, I probably will.
cool. Yeah, if you want to visit that town from the book, just let me know, because I know some hotels there and stuff like that.
Yeah, yeah, cool. Yeah, definitely give me some recommendations on that town. It'd be cool to see.
And the food there is all vegetarian.
Oh
Like,
yeah?
yeah, yeah, yeah. And cheap
Mm.
too. It's cheaper than Vietnam.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I'm looking forward. I'm gonna go to Nepal as well.
Nice.
Yeah. And they're both super cheap.
I think it's gonna be a good experience. Plus, after reading this book, yeah, it's gonna be really interesting.
Yeah, I just bought a book called Shantaram. Have you heard of it?
Shantaram, no.
It's a huge, thick book, and it's written by an Australian bank robber who got caught, and then when he was awaiting trial, he fled this was in the 1980s to go and live in India, and he was living in the Indian slums.
Mm,
And he like learned local languages and ended up doing like some medical stuff for people, and getting involved in the underworld in India. So I'm going to start reading that, and then hopefully that will make me, I don't know, get like a good, better understanding of what India is like and make me excited for the trip.
nice. It's gonna be awesome.
Definitely.
Yeah, I wish I could join you,
So,
but I'm still at goddamn DMZ, as we call it on this podcast.
just quit, man.
Yeah, no, I'm committing to this being my last year.
Yeah. When does the contract run out?
End of May, I believe.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I mean, I honestly I love working with kids. That's the best part. Like, they keep me so present.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
just
Yeah.
if I'm just in the office all day, I feel it's pretty toxic.
Yeah. 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 Teaching is actually a genuinely fun job. Yeah, I'm gonna come back to Vietnam after the trip to India and then teach again.
Mm. Oh, in Vietnam.
Yeah.
Sick.
Yeah.
I think I would teach I think part-time after this. See, I've been getting this huge like an itch to like, I really see myself having a coffee shop. And like, even if it's a small coffee shop, like a small like cafe area, I want like a big meeting room in the back where I can like make podcasts and have masterminds and shit. Like,
A cool idea.
I'm really visualizing that. It's like it's coming to my mind a lot more now than before.
Yeah, yeah. So I know you've mentioned that. I think years ago you mentioned doing that. So if it's still
Mm.
a desire, got to pull the plug.
Yeah, there was like something, like there was like a delay in something. Uh, then right now I've been studying the coaching, but I think it's possible to put all three things together: the podcast, the
Mhm.
coaching, and the cafe. Put them all into one thing. I think it's possible.
It's a cool idea. Yeah, and you could do like certain workshops and stuff there if you have a big room on stuff that you're interested in.
Yeah. Like, have you heard of masterminds?
No, what is that?
Mastermind is like a group of people that they specifically are studying like one specific thing with the purpose of everyone sharing the information that they know with each other so they can all succeed in that specific thing, whatever it is. So like if you know
So
Mr.
each person would bring a skill or something they're knowledgeable in, and then it's like a swap, is it?
Like for example, like do you know Mr. Beast?
Yeah.
So before he got big, he had a 3-person mastermind on cracking the YouTube algorithm. So it was just
Okay.
3 people that get together to figure out a specific thing with the purpose of everybody in the group becoming successful in that thing.
Gotcha. So with the mastermind thing in the coffee shop, would you all have one goal that you're continuously working towards, or would it change the goals?
Right. So like let's say like we have a mastermind on social media content creation. So then
Okay, and
like
then the
if
next week it might be something different.
well like I would have consistently like that social media content creation mastermind maybe like once a week. Let's say like on
Okay.
every Tuesday or
Good.
something. And then maybe
Okay.
every Wednesday could be something else, just like whatever, like opening a local business in Saigon mastermind or something.
Mhm. It's not a bad idea.
Because apparently people have been doing that for a long time, even like people like Henry Ford, like
Mm.
even like Da Vinci and stuff. Like it's like an old thing that people have been doing.
You know what a lot of successful people do as well is have mentors,
Mm.
like regular meetings with someone who's typically older and more experienced, who can you can go to for advice and guidance.
Hmm. And also for a specific thing too, right?
Yeah. Like, if you're a young author, for example, you might have uh someone an older, more experienced person who's also an author who can help
Mm.
guide you. I thought that was interesting because it seems like the mentor is getting less out of it. But then I started thinking about it and I thought, well, actually, it actually feels really good to help other people and see other
Mm.
people grow as well. So they
Yeah,
both get something out of it.
I'm sure like yeah, he feels good from helping somebody, and also I'm sure like the stuff he teaches is like getting more solidified in his own mind too. So like
Yeah. That's true. Yeah, they say like if you want to learn, like master something, then teach it to others.
mm, yeah.
Mm.
Mm. This reminds me before we leave. In this chapter, he mentioned the words non-duality a few times, right?
Mhm.
Yeah, so like
I think so.
our group that went to India, like we practice, right? Like we practice what I guess what is labeled as non-dualism,
Mm.
which is kind of hard to explain. Like they'll say like it's not one,
Yeah,
but it's not two.
what's your definition of non-duality, or what is it that you think Sam Harris means by it?
I think some Harris means the same thing because he mentioned it when he was talking about the that Dogen master
Hmm.
that he would teach him things about right about non-duality. Oh, we got 1 minute. Oh my gosh. About things like when he's talking about enlightenment, he mentioned like gradual enlightenment versus like direct enlightenment.
Mm.
And it looks like non-duality is more direct because there is no chanting, there is no trying to wake up, there is no
Mm.
there is no trying to reach enlightenment. It's just like, hey, wake up. It's happening.
Yeah, it's like being shaken awake. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm.
When I think of non-duality, I think of the yin yang really because there's there's like the dark and the light inside of one circle.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not exactly one, but it's not exactly two either because there's two inside of the one. And
Yeah.
maybe if you zoom out, maybe that yin yang is also part of another yin yang. I don't know, right? Like it could be endless. It could be like infinity.
Infinite space of yin yangs.
Yeah, it's possible that your true self is just straight up infinity.
Mm. Mm.
Yeah. Any final words?
I think so. We've got one more chapter left.
Yeah, one more chapter left.
Do you know what the final chapter's on off the top of your head?
I think it was something about fake gurus or gurus.
Interesting. Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
yeah.
Is that something that, yeah, definitely like popped up when we were discussing it for the first time? That should be very interesting.
That's great. Yeah, because actually we met one in that town, and I'll tell you about it
Mhm.
in the next recording.